The classroom holds its shape even after something irreversible gets said. Same flickering ceiling lights. Same heater with its intermittent wheeze. Same blinds knocking softly against the window where rain paints diagonal streaks. On that side, of the glass, students rush across the courtyard, hoodies half on backpacks, half-closed sneakers flashing. On this side, time doesn't move. The words land, not shouted, not whispered, just placed in the air like something that was always there but never had form. He hears them. He doesn't flinch, doesn't shift in his chair, doesn't even look up. Just adjusts his glasses with that habitual flick of two fingers and says what no version of this moment could have prepared for. Are you sure you're not provoking him? No pause to measure the impact. No breath held in shared weight. Just that line floating in the space between us like chalk dust, catching the light but never settling. He turns to his drawer, opens it calmly, and takes out a bottle of eye drops. Tilts his head back. Blinks. Voice flat. You're not a child anymore. You look like a woman. People notice, nothing else. Fingers stay clenched inside sleeves. Throat locks. Shoes make no sound crossing to the door. Hallway opens like a tunnel and swallows the body that moves without asking for instruction. The library absorbs whatever walks through it. Far corner table. Nonfiction section. A book with bright green leaves on the cover opens to a chapter about soil pH balance. Pages turn without effort. No part of it reaches the eyes. The final bell rings. A slow rise from the chair. Nothing in the hands. The long walk home curls around the back of the community center past the bench with the chipped red paint and the row of empty recycling bins tipped sideways in the wind. At the kitchen table, the light buzzes overhead while pasta overcooks in the pot. Mom doesn't look up from her screen. Why didn't you eat at school? Not hungry. All right. A soft click of keys resumes. The next morning, his voice skips over the usual alphabet. Barrett, then Chung. No glance toward the third row where a hand rests motionless beside a closed notebook. When essays get handed back, the stack moves neatly from one desk to another until his hand passes over the empty air above mine, as though it carries nothing worth returning. Hallway eyes flicker differently now, just enough to make it hard to tell if they linger longer or if the mind rewrites what never used to matter. Locker room mirror reflects one girl adjusting her sweatshirt lip gloss in hand. She says without turning. Some girls paint their mouths red so they can act surprised later when people stare. The silence that follows isn't loud, it's pointed. Back home drawers open. Cotton folds pulled and dropped without ceremony into a paper bag. Shirts that hugged too much, colors that felt too warm, fabrics too soft to wear again. Everything gets covered and tied off. He knocks. Just once. Same as every other night. Same rhythm. Same pressure. No words follow. The sound travels through the door and settles on the spine like a memory that's still breathing. No answer comes. Ceiling cracks run like dried riverbeds above the bed. The hum of the vent doesn't stop, but offers no comfort either. The night ends in stillness, not sleep. When morning arrives, it brings no difference. Only the quiet fact of survival pressed thin between the layers of another uniform and another hallway and another name that stays unspoken. After that day, nothing feels louder than silence. Nothing feels heavier than knowing you said the truth. And it made everything worse. The scissors aren't sharp enough. The edge of the skirt bunches and frays with each uneven cut. No particular design in mind. Just the need for it to stop brushing against skin. Not a statement, not fashion. Only a way to make it less visible, less tight, less like it used to be worn by someone who hadn't yet learned the cost of being looked at. Downstairs, the kettle clicks off. Somewhere behind the wall, the cat knocks something over in the laundry room. None of it matters more than making the hem shorter than short, and the feeling of vulnerability smaller than what it had become. By third period, there's already a comment. The math teacher writes her usual neat equations on the board, then glances over the shoulder and frowns. She doesn't say anything directly until the next day when the note arrives home printed in a neat serif font. Appearance concerns. Behavioral shift. Parental awareness recommended. The note goes up on the fridge held by a magnet shaped like a lemon. Mom doesn't say much. only taps the line she's underlined and says the word neatness, like it holds more weight than anything. That's been left unsaid in this house for weeks. In the cafeteria, the bench feels longer. Not physically, just in how much space it now seems to take to sit beside someone who used to feel safe. No one says, move. No one says, stay. They just continue their conversations while trays slide into place and milk cartons open and time goes on. Hair pulled back into a knot. Hoodie zipped to the throat. Second hoodie layered over the first. There's comfort in coverage even if the fabric weighs too much under the lights. The shape underneath becomes less clear. That's enough for now. Mr. Brown watches from the whiteboard. Doesn't say anything until the bell rings. On the way out, he steps sideways, blocks the door just enough to make it clear. Says the phrase like a suggestion. Hair like that gets distracting. Better to keep it back so the focus stays on the lesson. The next time he speaks, it's after class again. Says he wants to give feedback on the essay. Holds the pages loose in his hand but doesn't look down. Instead says that words like touch or warmth or fingertips are better left out. They lead the mind in the wrong direction. That's how he phrases it. The wrong direction. Not for him. For the reader. The paper had been about heroism. The line in the center said the hero is often the one who walks away, not the one who fights. It comes back marked with a soft pencil B, and the comment says, not deep enough. No one asks what the IE girl meant when she wrote about silence being braver than swords. Back at the house, the computer's browsing history gets checked. Mom tilts the screen forward, asks if someone's been reading strange things. Says it's a concern. Says too much darkness online makes people think they're victims of things that aren't real. Nothing answers her. Nothing pushes back. A door stays closed, just long enough for the conversation to drift into nothing. At night, the bathroom tiles hold on to the cold longer than expected. Water runs without heat. Skin doesn't protest at first, but slowly begins to burn from the inside. Sitting on the floor with clothes on, knees pulled to the chest, no sound but the water and the hum of the light. The body becomes just another object under pressure. Morning brings reflection. The mirror doesn't say anything useful. Breakfast gets skipped. Eyes stay lowered. Mom says something casual. Says there's no color in the cheeks anymore. Says, youth is fleeting. Says beauty needs to be maintained or it goes. Somewhere in the noise of it all, the unspoken takes root again. Keeps growing. No sunlight required. Spring in Tacoma doesn't arrive with sunlight or any real sense of renewal. The air just stays gray a little longer. Treetops blur into the clouds, and sidewalks stay damp even on days when it doesn't rain. Everything breathes in fog. Everything folds into the same low sky. It becomes easy to vanish here. The clothes in the drawer don't offer variety anymore. Gray shirt. Gray hoodie. Jeans that lost their color a year ago. It's not a rule, but there's comfort in not having to decide how to be seen. When everything matches the sidewalk, there's nothing left to highlight. The day of the yearbook. Photo comes without warning. The slip with the time and homeroom gets handed out during homeroom like always. Most students line up in the gym, stand under the lights, try to pretend their smiles aren't fake. That bench in the group photo stays empty. No questions asked, no name missed. In the locker room after class, the noise feels farther away than usual. Girls laughing behind the row of lockers. Deodorant spray hiss, sneakers scraping tile. A shadow crosses past the door and stops. Mr. Brown's voice slides in like something tossed too casually to be innocent. Says the words without slowing. Pretty girl like you shouldn't try so hard to disappear. No response comes. The grip on the edge of the bench tightens until the fingers hurt. He walks on like nothing was said. Counselor's office smells like dry erase markers and old paper. Clipboard on the desk, checklist with boxes. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Any history of self-harm in the family? Pen taps the corner. Head nods. Eyes scan. Nothing lingers. No one listens. Home again. Kitchen table cluttered. With receipts and unopened mail. The shopping bag lands on the counter. Inside, folded in tissue, a dress. Too new. Too pale. Too much. Her voice says it like a compliment. Some girls would kill for that figure. You should be grateful you were born with a face like yours. The dress ends up under the bed. Not hidden. Just out of sight. The first time scissors touch the eye. The fabric resists. Doesn't tear, doesn't give, the blades slide off. After a few failed cuts, the whole thing gets pushed into the space behind the boxes where no one ever checks. Bathroom stall at school. 2 voices behind the door. They don't whisper. She's the kind of girl with dad problems. You can tell by the way she walks. Or doesn't walk. Silence after. Not directed. But clear enough. Words begin to feel dangerous. Even hello carries weight. Even small talk feels like a trap. Easier to say nothing. Easier to let the world keep speaking without a reply. Mall window reflects something unrecognizable. Hoodie drawn tight. Head lowered. No shape to the body. Just outline and motion. Someone moves across the glass. The reflection follows. It takes a few seconds to realize the figure belongs to the person standing still. You ever stop seeing yourself in your own reflection? That's when it gets harder to come back. 4 years fold themselves into the walls of a new campus. Glass buildings, vending machines that always run out of the good stuff, corridors that hum with the same fluorescent sound but feel less watchful. Seattle doesn't erase anything, but it layers over it well. Some days the city rain hits hard. Other days it falls so softly it's like nothing ever touches you. In Lecture Hall 204, the topic is trauma and how shame often settles in the wrong body. The professor says it with a voice like it's not a new idea. Says shame becomes a home. Says it's easier to believe you were the cause than to hold the full shape of what was done. Later, the stairs outside stay warm from afternoon light. Sophie sits next to me eating a granola bar too slowly. Her voice cuts through the quiet like she doesn't mean for it to. You look like someone waiting for the next blow, not in your posture, in your eyes. That night, the cafe on 12th smells like burnt espresso and orange peels. Somewhere between small talk and silence, the words come. Someone told me it was my fault, and I believed them. Not whispered, not dramatic, just said. Her hand finds mine without comment. Not to fix it. Not to ask questions. Just a wait to remind the body where it is. That one gesture almost unravels everything. The screen stays open for hours that weekend. A blank post. Then a title. Then nothing. Then a sentence that won't stay. The cursor blinks like it's waiting for permission. Fingers freeze, then type. Again. Then delete. Again. A draft gets sent, not published, just emailed. Subject line reads, "In case I ever decide to live." 2 days pass. Sophie pushes her phone across the table at breakfast without saying a word. On the screen, a profile. Familiar face, different city, same eyes, columns posted weekly, headlines about family values and personal responsibility, phrases jump out. Like flashbulbs. Girls should protect their dignity. Provocation culture destroys discipline. The same voice. Different stage. No mention of classroom doors or eye drops or soft threats folded in compliments. The past doesn't rise like a wave. It stands behind the shoulder without warning. Breath tightens. Stomach hardens. The screen becomes that desk again. That gray afternoon. That voice not asking for truth but trying to shape it. There's a moment where it feels like going back would be easier than going forward. What if he reads it? What if mom finds it? What if the version they remember is louder than the one that survived? But something else answers. Not strength exactly. Something smaller. What if staying silent means he gets to keep saying it louder than me? Several weeks pass without contact, though not without attention. His name stays open in search tabs and recent visits echo through the algorithm. The screen offers what he posts, but behind that, it offers who responds. Among the likes and comments, one profile repeats often, a teenager whose face carries his shadow without the wear of his silence. She appears again on a Tuesday. A photo lit by the weak light of a school bathroom mirror shows a girl in a white t-shirt with heavy text across her chest, "Feminist AF," and a caption underneath that reads like something both brave and tired. Dad says I should respect myself and not put my body out there like that. But it's mine, right? The period is missing. The question mark is not. That line doesn't get shared or saved or screenshot. It gets read out loud quietly, then again at whisper volume into a room with no one else in it. Something about the way her words land makes the air tilt. Not because of what they say, but because of who's never said them before. No reply gets written. The post stays open until the phone screen fades black. In the next lecture, the topic shifts without warning into memory as a function of control. The professor stands in front of 70 students and says, "Healing isn't about erasing what hurt you. Healing begins when you let the memory be as loud as it needs to be without making yourself quieter to hold it." That night, the drawer in the hurry desk gets opened for the first time in weeks. Beneath half-used notebooks and a bent ID badge, the old essay rests with creases from being folded once too many times. The paper still smells like the printer back in the high school's front office. Across the top, in thin, dark ink, the title sits unblinking, "Heroes are the ones who leave." The red pencil beside it gave the line a B, and the feedback said, "Not deep enough," as if surface level was a choice. The lines don't read like a child's. They hold shape and stillness and intent. The voice in them is not small. The voice in them was never small. It was just being taught to keep itself quiet. The idea to make space comes from Sophie during a late lunch eaten cross-legged on the edge of the raised planters behind the language building. Her mouth still full of crackers, she says students should have a place to put down what they were told. Not names, not stories, just phrases. The ones that got under the skin and never left. A form gets taped to the board 2 days later. Cardstock pale yellow, marker thick and careful. Only one sentence. Are you sure you're not provoking him? No quotation marks, no attribution, no added weight. The following morning, a girl stops in front of it without taking off her backpack. Her hair falls forward as she leans closer. She reads the sentence 3 times, then turns without smiling and says in a voice meant only for the space between two people, "I thought I was the only one they said that to." No confirmation follows. No conversation begins. Just a glance and the smallest shift of expression, one that stretches across the edges of her mouth, then settles into something steadier than relief. And maybe that's how a voice returns. Not in volume or precision, but in the echo someone else hears and recognizes as their own. The front door opens the same way it always has. Hinges catching once before swinging wide. Her shape fills the doorway before any words pass between us. The smile she offers is practiced but not stiff. Her tone says nothing's changed. Her posture says she believes the past can be outgrown like an old coat folded quietly into the back of a closet. There's a compliment buried in the way she looks me over. Says I've changed. Says I've grown into something softer. Asks if boys at school notice. Says it like a joke, but waits for the answer as if it holds weight. The reply lands with more calm than edge. No more effort goes toward being liked. Especially not by boys. Especially not for sport. She pretends she doesn't hear. Walks ahead down the hallway without breaking stride. The door to the old bedroom opens into a space that has remained untouched. Books still stacked under the window ledge. Lamp still tilting on its bent base. The floor creaks in the same place near the closet. Under the bed, the edge of something pale sticks out where it always did. The dress is still there. Still smooth, still whole. The same hem still resisting. The same fabric that once refused to rip still holds. It gets lifted with both hands. Not shaken, not tried on, just held. Then hung carefully inside the closet next to clothes that no longer fit. In the living room, the screen glows blue in the center of the dark. His body fills the recliner, eyes fixed on whatever's playing. No glance toward the hallway. No flicker of recognition. Just the steady hum of his presence soaking into the room like it always did without permission. Outside, the air pushes in heavy. Not sharp like snow, but thick like steam. Tacoma in January doesn't freeze. It lingers. Moisture hangs between breath and mouth. Puddles reflect shapes, not light. Walking down the block takes effort, but not direction. The window of the pharmacy, near the gas station, still wears a strip of promotional decals across the bottom. Between them, a section of glass stays clear enough to catch a reflection. The figure staring back doesn't startle, doesn't stiffen, doesn't check the edges for flaws. The body looks whole, not flawless, not powerful, just steady. No mark lingers on the skin. No label floats near the collar. The outline belongs to the person who stands there, no one else. Before leaving the house, a cardboard box gets slid under the hallway table. No note, no headline. Just a single clipping taped to the inside, a phrase cut from an old magazine article left sitting on the kitchen counter weeks ago. 3 words in thick serif letters. Are you sure? Back in Seattle, the dorm stays warm even when the hallways draft cold. The bulletin board above the desk catches late sun when it sets low behind the campus library. A photograph gets pinned to its center. A simple shot, a bench half in frame, empty. Sky blown out to white, the kind of image no one looks at twice. Except now the bench doesn't seem empty. Something in its center holds weight. And maybe this is what leaving really means. Not escape, not victory, not closure. Just walking away and knowing nothing followed. Even if no one saw what you carried, you still carried it all the same.